The branch of service or you were in?
In the Navy.
What is it? Battalion, regiment, division, unit, or ship?
I wasn't on any ship. I flew overseas, so here's the name of the squadron, or the BPB 111 Patrol Bombing Squadron.
Your highest rank?
Aviation machinist mate, first class. It's like a first class petty officer.
Yeah, we'll probably do this after, during, because we'll have to restate it and all that. What's the name of the camera that we're using? Panasonic? That's what we're going to have to state with. World War II, you said, right?
Right.
Branch of service. Aviation, first class. Okay, we can get started. Yep. Is that the whole time? Wow. Okay. We are right now at the Farmington Library interviewing veteran George England. My name is Lisa Pereira, and Zach Gilliam will be here to interview as well. Mr. England's birthday is October 13th, 1924. His place of living is 44 Worthington, Farmington, Connecticut, 06032. The name of the camera we are using today is Panasonic. He served in World War II and also served with the Navy. His rank was the aviation first class. And Mr. England, were you drafted or did you enlist in the war?
I was drafted.
Okay.
I think you probably know that at a certain point during World War II, high school graduates were being given the opportunity to select a service.
Mm-hmm.
And I selected the Navy because I always admired the ships and so forth.
Any other reasons of why you joined during
Yes.
the time?
Fellas like me who were graduating high school felt they wanted to go and serve our country.
Where were you living at the time?
Manchester, Connecticut.
Were you in any type of boot camp or
Yes.
training?
I went to the Navy boot camp located in Sampson, New York. It's upstate New York for 8 weeks.
And what was that like?
New, obviously. You weren't used to taking orders.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't used to getting up early in the morning and being told we got to have the lights out at 9 o'clock.
What was a typical day like there? Like starting what time?
You'd hear reveille. You got to get up. You got to get up. You got to get up in the morning. And then we'd fall out, as they say, out in front of the barracks and do some exercises. After which we'd go to breakfast. After which we would drill. By they mean march and march. And if you didn't march, then you ran. So it was march and run, march and run. Obstacle courses.
How did you manage to get through those 8 weeks?
Anyone could do it.
Mm-hmm. Determination?
Anyone good health could do it.
Did you meet friends along the way there?
Oh, yes, lots of them.
Great. Do you remember what your instructors were like? Or do you remember
Yeah.
their names?
As I look at you, it's flashing by my mind. I can't say it right now.
Okay. What were they like? Or was there many, or was there one in particular?
One in particular. We had him for the entire time.
How many people were part of your training?
a unit was 120. That's the quantity that would fit in the first floor or the second floor of the barracks. So a barracks would have two of these companies, a total of 240.
Which wars did you serve in? Just
World War II.
where exactly did you go during this time?
Okay, after going to boot camp in Sampson, New York, went from there to Memphis, Tennessee, to the Naval Aviation Technical Training Center. It's also the location of the Naval Airport. That's where they trained you to service all aspects of the plane. Some were aviation electricians, so they learned the electrical part. The aviation mechanics learned all the mechanical parts, including the engines, ailerons, all moving parts, hydraulics, landing gear, and so forth.
How long did you stay there for?
That was 12 weeks.
12 weeks. Any other place?
Pardon?
Any other places that you?
Yes, well, towards graduation at Memphis, a few officers arrived and were looking for volunteers to be aerial gunners. And 3 of us raised our hand, and I was one of them. I had envisioned being an aerial gunner and one of the 2 dive bombers the Navy had at that time, or the torpedo bomber. That's what I thought I was going to do. However, we got orders transferring us to Jacksonville Naval Air Station, which was the location of the Navy's PBY training program, flying boats. So I was trained to be a flight engineer, sometimes called plane captain. And we would have a place in the plane strictly devoted to the flight engineer. I don't know if you ever saw one. I have one hanging by a string at home. I wish I had brought it.
Maybe at the later time we'll meet again and you can bring it, you can show it. Okay, so how long did you stay there in Jacksonville?
Okay, that was a roughly 8-week period, and we flew up and down the coast from Florida to Cuba, both for training purposes as well as to look for submarines. Looking for German submarines.
Did you find them along the way?
No, we didn't. We just saw beautiful ocean and sharks. I thought, gee whiz, look, the water's so clear, so beautiful. See the sharks down there?
So for those 8 weeks you traveled from on the coast from Florida to Cuba then?
Down to Guantanamo Bay. We'd land down there sometimes, refuel, and come back up.
How many volunteers were there along with yourself?
What do you mean by that?
When,
In the plane, or?
Yeah.
In the plane, there'd be 2 pilots, a navigator, an instructor, his students. There'd be about 5 students on board. There was a machine gun in the front of the plane. Today would appear to be antiquated. At the time, he didn't think so. And there were 2 blisters, one on either side of the plane where there was another machine gun, 50 caliber, located. And in the bottom of the plane, they're called the tunnel hatch. You could open the tunnel hatch during flight and stick out a 30 caliber machine gun. The other machine guns were 50 calibers.
Was that the only places that you went along the way?
No. Then we got orders transferring us to the middle of the country, to Hutchinson, Kansas. We couldn't believe it. There was a naval air station in the middle of the country. We thought, gee whiz, it must be a secret base. At any rate, it was being used for B-24s. The Liberator, the Navy called them PB-4Y1 different from what the Army called them. And therefore, we had all new pilots, crewmen. Some were trained to be flight engineers, some were trained to be the tail gunner, top deck gunner, radio men, radar men, building turret.
Okay. Any other places?
And from there, we got transferred to San Diego, both North Island, the man on Naval Base, as well as Camp Kearney. And we trained there for a number of weeks, became a crew, or before we really know we were going to become a crew. So at any rate, we therefore wound up with 11 members of our crew, 2 pilots, navigator, bombardier, and the plane captain, ordnance men, gunners.
And how long was that term in San Diego?
That was about 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
And we had orders to fly to Hawaii, to the Naval Air Station there. So it was arranged that 3 planes, meaning 3 B-24s, and 1 PBM, which is another flying boat, would all depart roughly the same time. And through the night, we flew from California to Hawaii. The purpose of which was to have some contact with another plane should one of you go down, to at least report back where it happened, and hope something could be done about rescue. So when they, roughly around 5 a.m. in the morning, we arrived over Hawaii. We had to avoid Pearl Harbor, which, as you know, had been attacked, and no one was to go anywhere near it with an airplane, or you get shot down. So we landed in a place called Kaneohe, K-A-N-O-H-O-E, air base. And we trained there for a few weeks.
And how was that training?
We were looking for submarines, our own submarines. We were supposed to be planned and so you'd find them. We never found it. Okay, so after that training, we were to take off for the war zone. How to get to the war zone in an airplane in those days. We flew from Hawaii to the Stepping Stone Islands, Johnson Island, to Kwajalein, which had been taken, and then to Guam, and then to Leyte in the Philippines. And that's where Squadron started operating. We had 18 crews in our squadron and 15 B-24s. The Navy used us as the eyes of the Admiral because we were the only Navy planes who could fly long distances, say 14 hours, which was a lot in those days. So we flew a number of missions from Leyte, searching. What we were searching for, we were searching for ships primarily. And so we went from Leyte to Mindoro, which is another Philippine island, to Luzon, and the last one was Palawan. From any one of those places, for example, we flew to Okinawa, which was about a month before the invasion. and we could report back that there were the ships in the harbor, and they were firing aircraft at us. We saw what we wanted, and we got the hell out of it. And on the way there, we encountered a burning ship. We said, well, how the hell could that happen? There weren't supposed to be any other Americans up here. And as I think about it over the years, I said to myself, geez, it had to be a submarine because no other airplanes were around. It was on fire. We strafed it to help it. And then we went about the rest of our mission. But I always remember that.
From that point?
Okay, some of our missions were to Hong Kong. Amazing thing that for me was to see thousands of sampans in the water. Our squadron, I forgot to tell you, only flew at low levels. We did not have oxygen. We threw the oxygen tanks out when we first got to the Philippines. Therefore, when we came in Hong Kong, coming in low over the water at 200 feet, seeing all those sampans reminded me of matchsticks, boxes of matchsticks that had been dropped in the water. They were everywhere. And as we flew over them at around 200 miles an hour or so, they were just staring up at them from the waves. They didn't know whether they were bombs straight or what. Other places. We went to the coast of Indochina, which is now Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Students like you don't know it. It had an earlier name. Again, looking for ships. We fly to Singapore. In the Singapore Straits, we found two hiding Japanese heavy cruisers. One of them was the Takeo, T-A-K-E-O. The reason it was there, it had been damaged by our American submarines. And since they weren't sunk, we managed to make it for repairs to Singapore Straits. Our pilot ordered the radioman to radio back to the Philippines. We have discovered two cruisers, and we're instructed to get the hell out of there and keep moving. The cruisers, we had enough guns on there. If a B-24 went out low level, they'd shoot it down. Mm-hmm. Other places, our longest flight took us to Java. That was a 14-hour flight, and all we saw was just 14 hours worth of water. Another one that stands out, for which we received considerable recognition, flying from the island of Palawan all the way down the coast of Borneo to 0 degrees on the equator. We discovered a shipyard, an unknown shipyard. The Allies did not know it was there. We reported back immediately to our base. They said, return to base. We returned to base and loaded up 3 B-24s with incendiary bombs and napalm. We took off in the wee hours of the morning. And back there, we'd never had any American visitors before except for us seeing them. And we came in low, dropping incendiaries and napalm, and burned the hell out of the place. For which our pilot, for discovering and leading the attack, he was awarded the Navy Cross. Crew members were awarded the Air Medals.
when they returned to the base, they were awarded these
Right.
recognition.
Not right away, a couple weeks later.
Mhm. Were you under a certain type of commander, or do you remember his name by any chance?
Lieutenant Commander Paris, I don't remember his first name. And since we had gone to the equator and below, we went to Javelin below the equator, there's a initiation in the Navy called shellback initiation, where those who had been before initiate you. And since it was done in the islands, let's say you dress up with a bandana on your head, like an old t-shirt, and they arranged for you to crawl in the mud, while the others who had been before had sticks, for example, to manage the vacuum on your rear as you crawled between their legs. I'd say what a foolish thing to do, but it's like initiation. So we all receive a certificate of Neptune, the warlord of the ocean.
Mhm. Did you have to participate in that as well, the
Yeah.
initiation?
I was in the mud and had the t-shirt on and got whacked. Have you had initiations like that in college?
Not that I know of. Do you want to break for 2 seconds?
Sure.
Okay.
I won't get it now, but I'm a big coffee drinker. I saw a coffee machine out there.
Okay. I do want to put a plug in for our squadron.
Uh-huh.
I already told you it was VPB 111. It received a Admiral's Commendation for its work in the Pacific, meaning the ships it sunk, the shipyard it took out,
What was the name of that ship?
pardon?
What was the name of that ship? V?
The name of the squadron
Oh,
was VPB-111, Patrol Bombing Squadron.
so, after that initiation, what was the initiation for? Was it just
The
to...
initiation meant you had really gone across the equator. And to prove it, you have a certificate, which is home somewhere.
Okay. And then from that point on, what was your next mission? Or what was your next...
Well, a variety. I told you many of the places we went.
Mhm.
I mentioned French Indochina, Hong Kong, Okinawa, various places on Borneo. Searching sometimes for downed aircraft, whether it be from our own squadron or other squadrons. We'd fly down along the coast of the Celebes. I don't know if we know where the Celebes are. Do you? They are a huge island to the west of Borneo. We never occupied it. As you know, MacArthur's plan was to hedge hop and not take out all islands. But it was a huge island.
So basically your assignments were to look for
Ships.
Submarines,
Right.
and
Yep.
you only came across the one that was damaged. You said? The one
Yeah.
that was damaged?
What was damaged?
The Takeo by the,
Oh, that was a cruiser.
the cruiser.
The other submarine we did discover had already been damaged through this. USS Darter and another submarine had attacked a fleet of Japanese. And in making what they call a turnabout, it became stranded on a shoal. It's coral that sticks out of the water, sometimes covered by the high tide and not during low tide. It got stuck there, which was obviously an awful situation. They were able to radio another submarine who came in as close as the commander could. And they arranged to take off the crew of that submarine after it had set explosives in the submarine to blow it to bits, so the Japanese could not get any advantage to the technology that was on board the sub. Unfortunately, the explosion did not do what it was intended to do. At any rate, they had to leave because they sighted aircraft in the vicinity, and therefore they took the crew from the USS Darter to the Nautilus, I think it was, and departed. In other words, submerged and departed. The next day, another submarine pulled in close, and using, I think it was a 40 millimeter cannon, put 60 shots into the submarine. So where do we come in during any of our missions in that area? We were instructed to strafe it and bomb it and the remains, which we did. And until 1955, 10 years after, various military ships would stop in the vicinity of the Darter to have a ceremony on behalf of that submariners and other Navy guys have a tendency to do that. So it continued for 10 years, then stopped. But its remnants are still out there.
Did you see any combat during the war?
I mean, people shooting back at us? Yes. That's what they do. They don't let you go in for free.
Did you ever shoot anyone, or?
Yes. When we did that attack on the shipyard, we came in low, all machine guns blazing. So we saw people running, and we strafed them. I didn't get to see their badges. They were coming in over 200 miles an hour at that time. You just were strafing, which you did all the time. If we attacked a ship, you didn't just bomb it, you strafed it on the way in.
Were there many casualties in your unit?
Yes, meaning some were killed during takeoff because you're taking off with a full load of gasoline and bombs. And there's no way you're going to get out of that if you went in. Other planes were lost in landing. And sometimes survivors survived and then died later. And some never came back. And you don't know whether they landed in the middle of the island somewhere, crash landed, survived, were become prisoners, or what. Or you never heard.
Roughly in your unit, how many do you think?
25%.
What do you think is your most memorable moment or experience during all of that?
Well, between the shipyard and burning it and almost falling out of a plane.
Falling out of a plane?
You know, as I said, our missions were very long. You weren't always in danger. And anyway, I went to the rear of the plane. There's places where you can urinate, one place, and there's a place where you can do the other thing. At any rate, we kept our food back there. and you could get sandwiches that had been prepared by the Navy cooks. At any rate, this was in Hawaii. I remember we were there for submarine training, and Hawaii is noted for the pineapples, Dole pineapple. So we had lots of Dole pineapple cans in the plane. So I went back to get some. And I think I had 3 cans under each arm. Managed to get the door open to the bomb bay. And the catwalk, I think, is about 8 to 10 inches long. And you walk through the catway rather, kind of sideways. And all of a sudden the bomb bays opened. And there was the ocean. My immediate reaction was to grab for something. Obviously the cans of pineapple went down, and I'm holding on, and I'm looking down. Holy mackerel, that could be me. And then I, holding on to other metal uprights, went through. And then I went up to the ordnance man, who was also kind of a bombardier. I said, "What the hell? You almost caused me to drop into the drink." So I let him know with Navy salty talk.
Were you personally awarded any medals or citations?
Yes.
Which one?
I have 5 air medals, Distinguished Flying Cross, and the Admiral's Commendation, battle stars for the Philippine Islands, and 1 for Okinawa. It's 3 for the Philippine Islands, various Philippine Islands, 1 for Okinawa. And by the way, a matter of interest, we also had a dog. I don't know if anybody cares, but being a low-level flying squadron, you did not use oxygen, as I think I said. Therefore, a human or a dog could operate at our altitudes. Before we departed for overseas, a couple of my buddies and I borrowed my pilot's car. We went into the Railway Express office in San Diego, where there are many servicemen sending things home, because they too are going overseas one way or another. There were 2 female Marines standing there holding a dog by a leash, and a nice-looking German Shepherd, but I noticed it kept nipping at everybody that went by. I said, Jesus. At any rate, I walked over, spoke to the girls. I said, "Is that dog for sale?" She said, "Are you kidding?" So I left. I knew I wasn't well received. A few minutes later, one of the girls came over to me and she said to me, "What would you do with that dog if you had it?" I said, "Well, we're flying overseas tonight and we're looking for a mascot." She said, "Come over here and tell that to my girlfriend." She said, "Tell her." I said, "We're flying overseas tonight and we're looking for a mascot." She says, "It's yours." Now, minutes had gone by. By that time, the darn dog was in the crate because she was sending it home to her parents. So the expressman came out with a crowbar. He pried up 1 or 2 slats, got the dog out, had the leash, and I'm a little leery of that dog because I'd seen it nipping at people. But anyway, we went to the car, drove out to a motel where my pilot was staying with his wife and child. And there was a playpen on the lawn. What they got, 5 foot square and 30 inches tall. So I just went out towards the playpen. Gee, the dog went for the child. I said, "Holy God, we got to get out of here." Fortunately, the motel was on a highway to the base. And it's customary for trucks to go back and forth. I'll call them buses. They weren't buses. And anyway, a Navy truck, you just stand out there long enough, a Navy truck would come by, going to Camp Kearney. Then the problem was, how are you going to get into the base? The truck had on either side a long seat. You sat side by side. So we sat side by side and put the dog behind our legs. Then we went into the Navy base. There's either a Marine security guy or a Navy guy. It was a Marine this time. Showed your ID. Okay, let them in. So we drove out to the base. I told the driver to drive out to where the planes were located. I took the leash and tied it to the landing gear. Then we went to our base. Came back later on that night. All our equipment was already in the plane, and took off with the dog. The dog was on all those missions. The dog received the same medals as we did. I have a write-up. I don't think I have it with me, though.
Okay. Did you have plenty of supplies along the way? And, like, food? And
Yeah.
you had plenty, it was enough on the plane for you?
We always had ample food. That's one thing the Navy was noted for, having ample food. While my friends who were Marines and Army grunts, they said, "You lucky stiffs."
How did you stay in touch with your family?
We had a free mail, and therefore I'd write to my mother and father fairly frequently. Still have a lot of those letters, and my mother had saved them.
Oh, great.
Right.
How often did you write?
I think at least once a week.
Once a week. Do you have any brothers or sisters as well?
I have a brother, 10 years younger than me, sister, 25 years younger than me, and one deceased sister.
I'm sorry about that. So you're the oldest.
Right.
Was there anything that you did for good luck that was special? Every battle or every experience that you went through?
No.
No? How did people entertain themselves along the way?
Well, I don't know if you'd call it entertainment, but air crewmen have a lot of spare time because you're either in a plane or you're not.
Right.
After you return from a mission, you clean your guns the next day. And then you had nothing to do. You play crap or shoot or play pinochle. Pinochle was the favorite card game. On Palawan, the Seabees made up a poker table and a crap table, I should say. And therefore, under lights at night, those with money and cared to take a chance, they shot crap. The rest of us would also play pinochle. Double deck pinochle was the favorite.
Double deck? Do you recall any particular humorous or unusual events that occurred?
Other than falling out of a plane, not falling out rather, I can remember small arms fire hitting the plexiglass that surrounds the turret that I was in, causing that turret of plexiglass to break up and fly off. I was not hurt. I didn't know if I was hurt or not. You know, with the wind coming at you.
Yeah. Do you have photographs with you at all?
Yes. I don't have them all, unfortunately. They're somewhere else. Maybe.
Oh, right here.
Okay, this would be a boot camp photograph. And that would be the guy that would be, in this case, a warrant officer responsible for this many men. This is a certificate from the training center at Memphis. Picture of the graduating class from Memphis. Me. Not of any special interest, but I don't know why I have it, but I kept it, I guess. The hydraulic system and the B-24. Pictures of a shellback initiation, the mud, how the Navy guys were dressed.
Oh, yeah.
Palm trees. Getting exercise, that was not me. This is me at home.
How often were you able to come home? How long was it before these certain places that you were able to go?
When we graduated from that Memphis Training Center, we were allowed to go home for a week. A P-38 underwater. I forget what island I was on at the time, but we took that picture while taking off. This is not our plane, but the Army, Air Force, and the Navy had talented people who enjoyed painting things. And you'll notice that this aircraft has been painted with a nice design. You find semi-nude women on most of the planes. Here's a picture of a B-24 aerial gunner at the side hatch. Picture of the dog.
Oh, yeah. Did you guys dress him up at all?
No. After the service. After the service. Football.
How long was your time in the service?
3 years.
3 years.
I think that's it. There are others elsewhere.
Okay.
The Navy guys, who were Airedales, wore a pin like that to designate you as an Airedale.
In Airedale?
Airedale. There's a nickname.
Okay.
And a patch like that meant you were an aerial gunner.
What was the nickname for? What did it symbolize?
Airedale?
Airedale? Yeah.
Air. And their dogs by the name of Airedale, sometimes called Airedales. A few pictures of Filipinos, not many. Not here anyway.
What did you think of the other officers or any fellow soldiers?
Well, I loved them.
You loved them all?
Mm-hmm.
Did you keep a personal diary at all? Or a journal?
I did, and I lost it. I'm so sad about that. You know, all our missions. However, finally was in touch with a fellow who served with me last summer. And getting home from Maine, there was a message there from a fellow who was in my crew. He says, "I'm looking for George England. I hope he's not dead."
Oh.
This is Bill Weir.
What was his name?
Bill Weir, W-E-I-R. He was calling me from Las Vegas. That's where he lives now. And I finally caught up with him. He had had 2 wives that died. His most recent one had died about 4 months prior. He therefore was lonely, searching for people to pass him, whatever. So we talked for a long time, refreshed each other's memory and what we saw. What the hell happened that day?
Do you still keep in contact with him?
Yeah, by letter.
After the service, did you recall the day your service ended?
Yep.
What day was that?
April 18, 1945, on Long Island.
You were in Long Island?
Yeah. And took the train home. My father met me at the station. Said, "Welcome home, son."
Are you happy?
Sure.
Any other close friendships that you made while in the service?
Yeah, but I didn't keep them.
No.
No.
Do you recall their names at all? Any of them?
I can remember one fellow by the name of Bill Curry, and a nice Jewish fella, Marvin Feinstein.
And they were on the planes with you as well?
No, they were in training at Memphis.
Is there any other friendships that you continue or relationships that you continue throughout the years?
No.
With any of them?
No.
Even, well, Bill.
Well, that's the only one.
Did you join any veterans organization?
Yes, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I'm a past commander. The Avon Veterans of Foreign Wars.
The veterans, I'm sorry?
Avon Veterans of Foreign Wars. I'm the past commander.
How long have you been like that? Since after the service? Or
No. 1989.
to present? After the service, did you go back to school?
Right.
What kinds of activities does your organization do? Any type of events that you guys...
At what, the VFW?
I'm sorry?
At the VFW, is that what you meant?
Yep.
I belong to a very patriotic post. They participate, obviously, in the Memorial Day Parade. They participate in 2 essay programs for the schools of town. Called, one is the Voice of Democracy contest for high school students. The other one is called the Patriots Pen contest for students in the 6th to the 8th grade. Each year they're given a theme to write, if they will, and they're given prizes locally within the state of Connecticut and nationally. The Voice of Democracy prize is $25,000. And the Patriots Pen is $10,000.
And you decide, your committee decides the winners?
Right,
of those?
with help from the teachers. Because it's such a popular thing, we get, and I don't want to say this, not with that, we get many essays, and we need help to read them. So now we had to enlist the teachers to help us. So the teachers boil them down to the best of 6, and we select the best 3. And rather than pick one of the three, because they're all kind of equal, we give them all a prize.
Do you attend reunions of any sort? Do you attend reunions
No.
or gatherings?
Well, we meet every month, and every Thursday we have Bet's Coffee at Friendly's in Avon. It started out with about 5 fellas. I was one of them. And now we get around 20. For 1 hour, we solve all problems in the world. By 11 o'clock, the world is beautiful. There's no war, and everybody's happy as hell.
Who were the 5 that started? Did you just start that on your own? Or?
No, that's with a fellow. I don't know if you want their names, but anyway, there are 5 of us. Oh, the reason it got started, Avon Veterans Memorial was made of wood and very old and dilapidated. And it was being cared for a retired Army colonel by the name of William McGinnis, a very patriotic man. And his health was such that he spoke to the commander of the post at that time. He said, "Hey, I'm getting to the point where I can't do this anymore. I need help." And a good friend of mine was responsible for the idea of putting up a granite monument to veterans. It's there now. We decided to, well, we had to price it out. We didn't know what the thing would cost. We got experts, designers, and designed a memorial that's there now. And we got a price on it, estimated price on it of $50,000. And we started letter writing to everybody in town and to the professional offices. We took them from the Yellow Pages. And we got to around $40,000. And I said, wow, how are we going to get the other 10? We started to struggle. And I said to my friend, well, he said to me, he said, you know, I'm going to write to the Foxwood. He said, I met the chief at a meeting, and maybe he'll help us. I said, if you get any money out of there, I'll buy you an Indian headdress. And he made numerous phone calls down there. Well, anyway, to make this story short, we did not get any money, but we kept writing letters to the professionals in town, and we had newspaper articles that told people how we were doing. In other words, we only have 45K, and others who had sent in something before sent something more. So we exceeded the $50,000, came out to around $55,000. But in 1 year from when we started, we dedicated it that year. So if you ever want to see a monument, well done. Take it right over to Avon to its town green.
It's right there.
Mm-hmm. Members of the committee were all members of the VFW. We had to research the legitimacy of the names to go on there, because there only could be names of veterans who served from Avon. Like I wasn't from Avon, so I couldn't be on it. One of the gentlemen even went so far as to call Russia and to check on the validity of a name. I thought that's the kind of guy he was. He's still living.
And these members that put this together was from the
Post.
Is there one in Farmington as well? So
There's a
your
Post.
name is on it? How do you say
No,
one?
mine is on the one in Avon, in Manchester, Connecticut. It's inside the high school. They didn't do as good a job as a granite monument.
How do you think, or how do you feel the service and the experiences that you had affected your life earlier on?
I recommend it for everyone, men and women. Get away from Mama. Ooh, Mama's good for you, but you got to get away.
It taught you a lot.
Yes. Getting along with others.
you wanted to do as a career after the war and after schooling?
I was fortunate enough to be employed by IBM. I stayed there for 38 years. Enjoyed every minute of it.
You're married.
Yeah.
Children?
I have 4 daughters. That's why I'm so spoiled. I'm around women all the time. 4 women and my wife.
Do you have any grandchildren?
Yes.
Any boys?
Yeah.
How many grandchildren do you have?
Well, I'll have to add the one from a divorced daughter, so we have 6.
Is there anything else you'd like to add that we haven't covered in this interview?
Go Navy.
Go ahead.
And support our troops. I know there's a divisive issue right now in this country, but you can't let it destroy us.
Thank you, Mr. George England.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for taking the time to do this.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
And I want you to contact the woman I mentioned. Feel that
If today, if say you were 18 years old, would you enlist in the war?
yeah,
Yes, in what?
because we gotta win this thing. You know that there are others who don't want us to win.
Would you give them any advice before enlisting?
Well, just tough it up and do it.
Thank you. Thank you
Okay.
again.